Well, happy Thanksgiving or happy Black Friday. Maybe you're listening to this on the way to Best Buy, ready to kill someone's uncle for a flat screen TV. I mean, do people still do that anymore? I feel like it's not that serious with Amazon and the internet and like Shein in general, but I guess it was never really that serious anyway. I'm debating going to Target to purchase, yes, a limited edition Taylor Swift Eras Tour coffee table book. It's only available at Target. This has been a horrible year for me, so I think fighting someone's mom in a Target aisle may heal me a little bit or something. So I'm here alone today in the studio, aka sitting under a bunch of sweatshirts in my closet. The Bills had a bye week, and not Slack in the background. The Bills had a bye week, and when Tuesday rolled around, which is our usual recording day, Brendan and I were both like, so are you feeling it? Because I'm not really feeling it. And what's the vibes here? And we just decided to call it. We figured there might not be as much to talk about without our beloved Bills having played a game. And statistically, it is impossible to record a podcast while also holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity. I've actually never seen the play, but I have held significant space for that song in the last few days in a way I fear may change my Spotify Wrapped. I don't know. I mean, I love that movie spectacles are a thing again. I was very into Barbenheimer last year, and I am looking forward to seeing Wicked and both Gladiator, of course, in a very deep, animalistic way. Paul Mescal, shout out to the boy. So even though we decided to not do a regular recording session, I did a bunch of research kind of out of my own curiosity about Thanksgiving Day football and how this holiday that was, I don't know, celebrating English folks and native folks breaking bread and eating corn and turkey back in the day. How it became more of a day of watching football and then fighting people at Walmart. So when it comes to football games being played on Thanksgiving Day, that idea goes way, way back before Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and the NFL as a whole, back to 1876, shortly after the game of football had been invented. This is from Wikipedia. That seems like a bold claim, but we'll just run with it. And of course, it's a day that most people have off from work. That year, college football teams from Yale and Princeton began an annual tradition of playing each other on Thanksgiving Day. And a few years later, the University of Michigan also jumped on the Thanksgiving Day football game bandwagon. So fast forward to the 1900s, the NFL is created, and the NFL Thanksgiving Day games have traditionally included one game hosted by the Detroit Lions since 1934 and one game hosted by the Dallas Cowboys since 1966. And then since 2006, a third primetime game has also been played on Thanksgiving Day. But unlike the two afternoon games, this game doesn't have any fixed teams hosting or playing. So what started with one game has led to three, like we see on a typical Sunday during the NFL season. Now, in 2001, the NFL began branding the games as the Thanksgiving Classic. And in 2022, the league changed the branding to the John Madden Thanksgiving Celebration in honor of the head coach and broadcaster John Madden, who had died in December of 2021. So that's your background knowledge, some base, why are we doing this? Most people have off. It gives us something to look at and talk about if we don't want to really engage with our families, I guess. But now to some tea, some drama, if you will. Like I mentioned, the Cowboys are one of these teams that kind of have a hold on the Thanksgiving game. I think they're the late afternoon one, the one in the middle. And it's widely rumored that the Cowboys sought a guarantee that they would regularly host Thanksgiving games as a condition of their very first game when they became a team in the 1960s. Games on days other than Sunday were pretty uncommon at that time, and thus a high attendance was not even a certainty. Now, this part is only partially true, but it's been rumored again that Dallas had decided on their own to host games on Thanksgiving. And team president at the time, Tex Schramm, was enticed by the publicity that would come with a permanently nationally televised game and volunteered to host when the NFL proposed the second Thanksgiving game. Schramm also anticipated that a home field advantage in a shorter week would favor the home team because the opponent would not only lose 3 days of practice, but additional time traveling to Dallas that the Cowboys could use to prepare. So it was not even totally about the Thanksgiving of it all and having a captive audience of people watching TV, but also this kind of twisted narrative of, oh, it's a short week, and if people always have to travel to Dallas, then they're losing that time they could be practicing on a plane. Which I kind of love that, like, very Survivor Traders reality TV, like, narrative construction of trying to really outplay the competitors in a way that has minimal to do with athleticism and the game itself, but the strategy around the game, if that makes sense. You know, a lot of times when you're watching reality shows like Big Brother or something, it's not necessarily about the game in front of them. It's about the game of just screwing with other people's minds. And I don't know much about Tex Schramm. I'm sure his politics are nothing like mine, but his vibe with this scheme is pretty on point. So when it comes to the games being played today, if you're listening Thanksgiving morning, we have the Chicago Bears versus, of course, the Detroit Lions, who hold that spot. That's at 12:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS. Then we have the New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys, again, who hold on to that mid-afternoon spot. That's at 4:30 Eastern on Fox. And then we have the night game of the Miami Dolphins versus the Green Bay Packers. That one isn't really held on to any one team traditionally at this point. That's at 8:20 p.m. Eastern on NBC. So really all the networks get even more of our eyes and attention. And then on that note, that also got me thinking about this Black Friday game, which was only added last year in 2023. That was the first game ever to be played on and advertised as a Black Friday game. Now, during the early days of the NFL, games on Fridays weren't all that common. However, since the AFL and the NFL merged in 1970, there have been just 11 games on Fridays, and most of those have been on holidays. Although there was one that was rescheduled to a Friday due to a hurricane in 2005. So it seems like most of the Friday games that we've seen in the past have been for like extenuating reasons. But in general, holiday, hurricane or not, we don't see many NFL games on Fridays because of the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961. When that law was put into place, it essentially locked the NFL out from playing games on Friday or Saturday in order to protect attendance at high school and college football games. And as a result, the NFL has mostly just avoided scheduling games on those days. And yes, it all comes back to Friday Night Lights, baby. All of this info is from an article, I'll post it in the show notes, from sportingnews.com. And they say that the NFL isn't necessarily not allowed to play any games on Friday and Saturday, but it's been more of kind of like a respect thing. In recent years, the NFL does as the NFL does and needs to get its grubby little greedy hands into more days and has pushed for more late season games on Saturdays once the college football regular season and conference championship games have concluded. That way, there's no conflict for those who are fans of both, and no eyes are getting taken off college football. So does 2 Black Friday games in a row, 2023 and now this year's 2024, really make it like a tradition? I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure any extra money being made for the NFL is good for the NFL. And I see no reason why they would stop it. Most people end up having Black Friday off or taking Black Friday off, except for retail workers, unfortunately. But there will, in fact, be a football game on Friday afternoon this year. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern between, unfortunately, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders, which is apparently an old school rivalry dating back to when they were the Oakland Raiders out in California. So nonetheless, it'll probably be a fun game if you're just like chilling at your parents' house and, again, need something to throw on in the background. We all hate watching the Chiefs, but there you go. But anyways, to wrap this all up, if you're listening to this while heading to or coming home from a holiday gathering you were stressing out about, or maybe just not looking forward to, you can always remember that, you don't have brain cancer like me, right? It could always be worse. But for real, take care of yourselves this holiday season and your loved ones, and know that you can literally leave at any time if it's better for your mental health. In my 20s, I absolutely loved an Irish exit to the point where it was kind of concerning because I lived in New York City. My friends would be like, "Where'd you go?" And I'm like, "I've been home for 3 hours." Don't worry about it. We have a book in our bathroom called A Bathroom Book for people not pooping or peeing, but using the bathroom as an escape. It's by Joe Pera, who, first of all, an incredibly funny and offbeat comedian, if you will. He's also a Bills fan and a Buffalo native, so you can't really go wrong there. It's a very sweet book, and just a reminder that that is always an option if you need a minute away from crazy invasive questions that come up during this holiday season from aunts and cousins who just don't understand the way you live your life. We'll be back hopefully in full breath, full energy, full football fandom next week. We have the Bills playing the 49ers on Sunday. So we have an inter-podcast rivalry, staff versus staff. Obviously, we're Bills podcast, but we have VCATs who will be reporting on her beloved 49ers who, knock on wood, are falling apart, but you gotta have hope, right? So that'll be a fun game nonetheless for us, for the podcast, but also it's supposed to be really snowy and really windy, and it's in Orchard Park. So if you're going, let us know. I will not be watching from the snow, and maybe we'll all be at a bar somewhere. But have a great holiday, and if you are eyeing a Black Friday deal, may the odds be ever in your favor. And go Bills. Well, that is another episode of Man Coverage in the Books. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please, if you have a second, go leave a 5-star rating and a review for the show on whatever platform you use to listen to us. It really does make a difference. Also, make sure you are subscribed to the show and following our Instagram. That's at ManCoveragePod for more visual stupidity. Go Bills. Be ever in your favor. And go Bills. You know, the part of me that thinks I could throw and catch a football if I really gave it a shot also thinks I could do defying gravity if I took some lessons and really committed.